Steve! Hey, Steve! I heard someone calling my name as I was walking through the expo. Turning towards the voice calling my name, I smiled. Hi, Tom. Haven't seen you around for a while. Glancing at the logo on the smart polo shirt he was wearing, I added, That's not the company that you were with before. I hope it was a move up for you. A slight grimace came over his face. More of a lateral move. Anyway, how about we meet up later and catch up? He offered. Sure. I'll be done about 5 o'clock. I'll meet you at the hotel bar then. He confirmed, then headed back to his booth as I moved on. Tom wasn't what you would call a good friend, but in our business, you tend to run into the same people at most of these conferences. We had met up several times over the years and gotten along pretty well. As more than just casual acquaintances, but less than really good friends, we had discussed our families and lives in general, but no real specifics. I had noticed that he had been missing these conferences for the last couple of years, and it was good to see him back. I'm sure that we would have a good time catching up on our lives. So, new job then? I asked as I sat down beside him and ordered my drink. Yeah, I had a difference of opinion with my old company and we parted ways. Wow, that's rough. Is that why you haven't been to these conferences for the last couple of years? Yeah, I had to work my way up from the bottom again. It doesn't matter how much experience I had before, they want their longer-term employees that are more familiar with their products and services in the booth. Well, that does make sense. So, how have you been? What's going on in your life? How's the wife and kids? I asked, wanting to change the subject. His face turned dark. Jen divorced me, he replied. And because I had to move 3 states away for this job, I almost never get to see my kids anymore. Oh, that's rough. Did she find out about you being unfaithful? I mean, you were always bragging to all of us about all the married women you were seeing on your trips out of town. What was the name of the last one? Mary? I remember you talking a lot about her. You had been involved with her for a couple of months at that time. He smiled at that one. Yeah. Darn, she was attractive. She had been putting her husband off on having kids for a couple of months already just so she could enjoy her freedom. Are you still seeing her? Number. She suddenly stopped taking my calls and even blocked my number shortly after the last conference I attended. I think I met her once more. Then everything went to pieces. In fact, it was the evidence of her and me that Jen used in the divorce to invoke the prenup. That also cost me my job. They fired you for infidelity? I asked in amazement. Isn't that illegal? A look of anger came across his face. Of course they didn't fire me for infidelity. She had me served at the office just as we were about to have our monthly meeting. The young woman that served me the divorce papers loudly exclaimed that I was being served with the divorce on grounds of adultery. Her dad, the CEO of the company, then put his investigators in the accounting department on me and began reviewing all my expense reports for the last several years. Lunches, dinners, hotel rooms, everything. They even called up my clients to verify if I was actually having lunches and dinners with them at those times. Not only did they fire me for cause, but then they sued me for repayment. I still owe them about $10,000. He also blackballed me from the industry. Wow, that's rough, I commented. If he blackballed you, how did you get this job? It wasn't easy, he remarked. First off, I had to take a severe cut in pay. I have 20 years of experience, but I am being paid the same as a kid straight out of college. My base pay is terrible, so I have to put in about 80 to 100 hours a week just to make enough commissions to get by. Second, the owner of this company really doesn't like Jen's dad, so he didn't really care about the blackballing. Well, that's good for you then. At least you are making decent money and can pay your child support. That's not the worst part. Jen wasn't just out for blood. She wanted my complete destruction as well. Since the accounting office had all the receipts, they knew all the places, times, and dates. Her daddy hired a really good PI firm to track everything down. They found over a dozen other women that I had been seeing. Every one of their husbands got a package delivered to them. Of course, the lawsuits went nowhere, except to ruin my reputation. The problem was that several of the husbands got DNA testing on their kids. What's wrong with these women? I mean, if you are going to cheat on your husbands, you should be practicing birth control. 3 husbands sued me for back and future child support. I had to trade in my BMW for a used Ford Focus. Of course, I was kicked out of the house. It was in Jen's name, a gift from her father just before we got married. I now live in a tiny studio apartment in the worst area of town. I am working so much and have no extra money, so I have no social life. The only time that I can afford to drink is when I am traveling and can expense it as entertaining a client. My only hope right now is that Jen will marry the guy that I heard she is seeing and end the alimony payments. Heck, I'll even sign off on letting him adopt my children to quit the child support payments. It's not like I have the opportunity to see them now anyway. Wow, I remarked. Sounds like you really angered the wrong people. He was on his 4th drink by this time. I was kind of wondering if he would have enough money to pay his bar bill. Look, Steve, you and I have been kind of friends for years. I'm really desperate here. I really need a good sale. I can get you a really good price, and I know that there are a lot of our products that you can use. Get me a list of what you need, and I'll beat any other price that you can get on them. Darn. It was sad to see this once proud man begging now. Tell you what, let's just enjoy this evening, and we can discuss business tomorrow. After all, as you said, we have been friends for years, I offered. He smiled at that, thinking that he would be getting a good order from me. Okay, buddy. Now, I've been sitting here complaining about my difficult life. What's been going on with you? Well, Tom, the last couple of years have for me been remarkably similar to your life, with a couple of differences. Really? He asked in wide-eyed amazement. Yeah. You see, I got divorced as well. Thankfully, we had no children yet. Were you cheating on her too? Number quite the opposite. You see, I was sitting in a bar much like this one, talking to a client. I overheard some braggart talking about all the women that he was seeing on the side. I was just laughing most of it off until I heard him talking about one particular woman. That got my attention. When I got home, I installed cameras in all of our rooms, monitored her phone, and put GPS units in her car and purse. It didn't take long to catch her cheating on me. I managed to get video of her with the scoundrel. He was listening to me with rapt attention. He was a bit too drunk to catch the subtle hints in there. What did you do? He asked. I went full on revenge. Actually, it was multiple revenges. I not only exposed her, but I decided to expose the scoundrel as well. A glimmer of something passed through his eyes. Maybe something was getting through the fog of the alcohol. Hey, you know? In all the years we've known each other, we've never shown each other pictures of our families, I exclaimed. Here's a picture of my ex-wife, I proclaimed as I pulled up a photo on my phone. His face immediately went pure white. But that's... He sputtered. Yeah, I agreed. That's the woman you were bragging about seeing at the last conference that you attended. You! He accused. Yep, me. You ruined my life. I couldn't help but laugh. Well, you did have an affair with my wife. You should know that actions have consequences. It was just an affair, he pleaded. It didn't mean anything. Actually, it meant everything. I didn't know that she was your wife. Doesn't really matter. You knew that she was somebody's wife. Besides, you knew that you were also married. You remember that vow to forsake all others? Some of us take that seriously. It was really sad to watch the guy fall apart and begin crying there in the middle of the bar like that. Okay, Tom. Get yourself together now. There's a bit more information that you really need to know about, I told him. Really? How much worse can it get? He asked. Well, a lot worse, actually. The good news is that everything else has already been put in place and is already in play. There will be nothing else added on from here on, unless you mess things up again. Please tell me that things will be getting better for me, he begged. Well, they can, depending on your actions. At least they won't be getting any worse. I should start by telling you about my new job. I'm now working for your old company. I'm the director of engineering, and I work directly for the CEO, your ex-father-in-law. He's going to be retiring in 6 months, and I will be named the new CEO. I think that's what the plan was for you until you messed it all up. Next, the owner of your company and your ex-father-in-law don't exactly hate each other. Actually, they are more friendly rivals. In fact, the three of us will be playing a round of golf on Friday. Stan, the ex-father-in-law, realized that without a job, you wouldn't be able to pay his daughter the court-mandated alimony and child support. He discussed it with your new boss and got you the job you have now. Well, at least it can't get any worse. I can start working my way up in this company, and hopefully, she will marry the guy she's seeing and eliminate my alimony payments. Yeah, I wouldn't count on that too much. I seriously doubt that you will be moving up in your company. Sure, you will be getting your annual cost of living raises, but you will remain at your current position. Nobody trusts you enough to promote you. I let that sink in for a couple of minutes. Then I continued. Oh, let me show you a couple of pictures of my new fiancée and her kids. I pulled up another photo on my phone. I think that it was a bit of a shock, because it took him a minute or two to react. That's your ex-wife. Yes, I confirmed. And these are your children. My children? Yep. You know that they are now calling me Daddy? I guess that since you haven't been able to see them for a couple of years, it is probably natural. I am the only adult male in their lives now. You're dating my ex-wife? He exclaimed. Actually, we are engaged, I replied. Our wedding is planned for April 2027. He thought about that for a minute. Then it dawned on him. Wait a minute. My last alimony payment to her is in March of 2027. Yes, I know. She refused to marry me before then. She wants to collect from you for all she can. You really should have known better than to anger an Irish redhead. You got a double shot of anger management issues there. You got that famous Irish temper, then the famous redhead temper on top of that. That's a bad combination. I thought we were friends. How can you do this to me? Well, I thought that we were friends as well. That is, until I found out you were having an affair with my wife. But I didn't even know she was your wife, he complained. Doesn't matter. You knew she was someone's wife. Maybe you should have found out whose wife she was before you got involved with her. Oh God, can this get any worse? You really should never ask that. It jinxes you. It can always get worse. On the upside, you still have 10 years of child support left to pay. Eventually, those kids will start dropping off as they turn 18. Unfortunately, you will most likely still be paying the back support for a while yet. Once the first couple of kids turn 18, you can use that money to double up on those payments. Unfortunately, unless you really impress your boss, you will most likely be laid off as soon as your last child support payment is made. Also, there are still several angry husbands that really want to get their revenge on you. So far, I have convinced them to hold off, because if you are injured, you can't work and keep making the payments on time. Once you are done with those payments, there really won't be much of an incentive to hold off anymore. Anyway, it was good to catch up with you tonight. Maybe we can catch up again at the next conference. I'll take care of the check, since you seem to be having some money issues. I told him as I paid the check, then left him there contemplating his future existence. The beautiful redhead sat at a booth in the corner observing the conversation. She watched as the tall, well-built man got up, paid the bill, and strode out of the bar. She saw the devastation on the other man's face. Of course, she knew what had just happened. Still, she was compassionate. The poor, broken man really could use some good fortune to come into his life. Yes, he deserved everything that was happening to him, but judgment tempered with mercy is always best. After all, people can learn from their mistakes, so giving them a chance to redeem themselves always benefits society. The red-headed goddess spied a tall, leggy blonde beauty enter the bar and look around. She was already familiar with the blonde, and she had already made arrangements for her consequences to visit. The redhead smiled. Worst case, she would move up her plans for the blonde. Her fate was sealed regardless. The redhead closed her eyes and concentrated. Suddenly, several other customers entered the bar and took all the available booths. The only seat left was at the bar beside the devastated man. Having no other choice, the blonde strode confidently to the seat and sat down. Karma smiled. It was all now up to the devastated man whether he would get a bit of relief or have further devastation in his life. After a quick glance at the 6 feet 5 inches muscular man in an obvious disguise sitting alone in a dark booth at the back of the bar, the red-headed goddess decided to let things play out as they would. It had been a long month for the beautiful redhead. She needed to relax for a night. With one more spell to ensure that the devastated man would not be seriously harmed, he did need to be able to work to make his court-mandated payments. She decided to relax for the rest of the evening. The clearly exhausted and overworked cocktail waitress set another drink down in front of her. The redhead who was named Karma saw the pain in the waitress's eyes. She saw that life had been hard on her and that she did not deserve what she had been through. She saw that this woman was a very honorable and decent person that had been dealt a difficult hand. It was time for her to get a strong dose of good karma. As she was sipping her drink, her mind went into her archives to discover her situation. She discovered what she needed to know. She made her move the next time that she stopped at her booth. "What time do you get off, honey?" she asked. It will be another 2 hours, but I really don't date customers. Besides, I really need to get home to take care of my daughter." What's the use of being a goddess if you can't use it occasionally for your own purposes? She thought. Suddenly, the brunette waitress's phone suddenly rang. She answered it. The gist of the conversation was that the waitress's daughter had already fallen asleep, and her teenage babysitter was willing to stay the night for no extra charge. "Well, now that has been settled, I'm in room 512. Don't worry, I'll have you home in plenty of time to fix her breakfast tomorrow morning. I'm pretty sure that this is something that you need." Seriously, she is a goddess. No one can resist her. The brunette rested peacefully in the luxury of the high-end suite. She was surprised when she woke up in her own bed the next morning with pleasant memories of the night before. The goddess woke up with a sigh of resignation, knowing that she would never be able to have a real relationship. Still, she was content that she had made the proper arrangements so that the waitress would be taken care of. She would just have to be satisfied with the occasional connection that she could work out. Tom failed his test for redemption. He used his expense account to buy the married blonde drinks and convince her to his hotel room. Unfortunately for both, she didn't take much convincing. In fact, it is still a point of contention on whether he talked her into it or she talked him into it. Either way, her jealous husband, who had watched the entire thing in disguise, severely injured Tom to the extent that he would never be able to function normally again. He then used his prenup to divorce the blonde and leave her with just the clothes on her back when she left. She is now working multiple jobs on the bad side of town to survive. Oddly, a week after the encounter between the red-headed goddess and the brunette waitress, a very expensive Lexus SUV suddenly broke down in front of the modest bar. As luck, or karma, would have it, the rich woman sat in a booth that the brunette beauty was serving. Through a series of odd circumstances, the rich woman ended up sitting in the booth for several hours before her car was towed. The time allowed the two to get to know each other very well. It took a couple of nudges, nothing that neither of them really didn't want to happen, but more to push things along. Eventually, the rich woman became a semi-regular at the bar. She always sat in the section that the attractive brunette was covering. It took a while, but they eventually got together. The brunette's family had rejected her because she had come out as gay. Her baby was the result of a terrible assault by her father's friends trying to change her orientation. "My name is Karma. I'm tough." The rich woman ended up owning the factory that the brunette's family works at. They were all fired and lost their houses. I look in on them every once in a while. I saw one time at Christmas when her siblings brought their children to a charity event to get Christmas presents. She graciously offered to buy her nieces and nephews presents for Christmas. She even invited her entire family to their house for Christmas dinner. She used that opportunity to show her prejudiced family the love and respect for each other in her house. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. Tom? Well, what can I say? I gave him the chance to help himself. The main issue after that night was that he was so badly injured that he was never able to function normally again. Once his last biological child turned 18 and graduated from high school, he was laid off from the company he worked for. Because of his past, he was blackballed from ever working in the industry again. He ended up as an alcoholic assistant manager at a Taco Bell. I really did try to help him, but his decision-making never got any better. What can I say? I really am tough. The blonde? Well, she was never even close to the beauty that she once was. Once your facial features are damaged to that extent, it takes a lot of money to fix it. Her now ex-husband had discovered a lockbox hidden inside a wall in the house he had inherited a week earlier. He managed to skip the country before the search was put out on him. Rumors have it that he is living very well in a tropical environment right now. Oh. You probably want to know about Mary. Her case was very sad. She did end up repenting her evil ways. Unfortunately, it was too late for her. Steve did end up forgiving her on her deathbed. She contracted a serious illness from her third partner after Steve divorced her. Unfortunately, it was too late before she discovered it. Yes, she was truly remorseful. I did visit her towards the end. The best I could do for her was to make her passing as easy and painless as possible. Okay, so I probably went a bit overboard on her consequences. What can I say? Okay, so I'm not only human. Still, I deliver karma to those that deserve it. Yes, I made sure that her lawyer was incompetent. Yes, I made sure that her ex-husband could manipulate their finances to his advantage. Yes, I made sure that the prenup could be fully enacted. Still, it was her decisions afterwards that drove her fate to where it ended up. She had options. She didn't need to end up working the streets downtown. She didn't need to take him as a client. She had other options. Okay, I did use her to give bad karma to another of her clients. Of course, I was careful that his wife had already stopped being intimate with him. She is doing a lot better now that she divorced him, BTW. Anyway, this should close this chapter. Everyone pretty much got what they deserved. Some got more than they should have. But that's just the way things go. Anyway, I have other things to do right now. Some jerk is about to try to con an innocent widow out of her life savings. Yes, I much prefer to dispense good karma, but every once in a while, I really enjoy giving jerks exactly what they deserve. I have multiple looks, but I much prefer my normal look as a petite redhead with green eyes. Look around wherever you are if you are thinking about doing something wrong. You might want to think twice if you see someone that might look like me in the near vicinity. Maybe I'm watching. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.